Hey everybody, and welcome back to the board meeting. Today we're doing another reviews and ratings episode where I review and rate all the different games I've played in the past 2 weeks with friends, family, and even solo. We have 7 games I'm going to be talking about today. I'm going to give a quick overview of each of the games, give my quick thoughts on it, and finally give a rating to it. Go through it relatively fast, and we're going to start with my least favorite games and go into my favorite games of this week. So let's just jump right into it, and we'll start with a small little micro game that comes in a deck of cards. This is Vintage Racers. This has the theme of the old-time racing cars, but it comes in just a deck of cards. The racetrack is just made purely out of a deck of cards, and then you have these little mini racers that are on the board. And then you're going to be racing around the track by choosing to increase your speed, decrease your speed, depending on if you're going around corners, because the corners you can only go so fast. It is very reminiscent of some very popular racing games like Formula D, Heat, Flamme Rouge. It's got a lot of the DNA of that, but in a small little micro game. At the start of the game, you are going to be basically drafting your car, which is my favorite part of this game, and you're going to be drafting like a front end, a middle part, and the back end, and they're all going to give you certain stats that are going to determine how your car is going to maneuver throughout the game. So you're going to be just increasing, decreasing your speed throughout the game, going around these corners until you have finished the race. But the problem with this game is, I'll say right out, it's going to get a 5 rating. The game rulebook is so bad. It's one of the worst rulebooks I've read in quite a while. It doesn't even say in the rulebook how many spots you go, depending on how fast you're going. So that is the main mechanism of this game, is how many spaces you're going to be moving. And, I had to go on the internet, and every 10 miles you're going, you move 1 space each turn. But it's not in the rulebook, and a lot of things aren't in the rulebook. And for being a small little micro game, that's pretty disappointing that the rulebook is so bad. You basically almost can't play the game just based on the rulebook. Also, the pieces are really small, and you end up bumping the racetrack and moving them all the time. And so I just thought the game was fiddly, and the rulebook combined with the rulebook, so it's going to get a 5 rating, unfortunately. And some people might like this game because it will give you that feel of those big racing games, but in a smaller package that you can play in 15 minutes. But I was just a little bit disappointed with this game. So 5 rating for Vintage Racers. Going to the next one. The next one is also a little micro game, 18-card game by Buttonshy. This is SpaceShipped. This is a really clever mechanical game where you have 3 sections of cards in this game. The first section is going to be event cards, and there are going to be 3 sections on these event cards. And on the top 1 and 2 sections, they're going to have some kind of event that happens that's going to change things. You might get more money, you might get different things, or you might get hurt a little bit. And on the bottom section, there is going to be like a marketplace. That's going to set the marketplace for this turn, how much resources cost, or how much you can sell resources for. The next section is these upgrade cards that are going to be like, you can upgrade your crew, which is going to get you special abilities, or upgrade your ship, or different things like that. And on the top is going to be the marketplace that is going to have these resources that you can buy throughout the game or try to sell. And after each turn, one of the event cards on the far right flips over, and it becomes one of the upgrade cards. And then the far right upgrade card flips upside down and becomes one of the resource cards. The far right resource card flips and becomes the first event card. So this thing is kind of just a giant chain of just a clever mechanism. This chain that is just constantly rotating, and it's a very clever game in itself. And the whole point of this game is to buy resources and then sell resources for a profit, and then eventually you're going to get 20 mega credits, which you are then going to buy these, I think they're called Xeno crystals, and if you buy 2 Xeno crystals before the AI person does, then you win the game. This is going to get a 6 rating for myself, because even though I think it's such a clever game, it's such a smooth system that that they implemented in here. I think it's well designed. I didn't feel like I had much decision space in here. It's like, okay, this turn, uh, these asteroids are going to cost 1 mega credit. Next turn, I can see that those asteroids are going to be 3 mega credits. So I'll buy these asteroids this turn, and then next turn I'll sell them for 3 mega credits, so I'm going to get some profit, just trying to increase my money. It felt like the decision space in this game was really obvious. Like, I didn't feel my brain wasn't hurting at all. It's like I was just kind of going through the motions for this game. So it's going to get a 6 rating. I've seen that there are some expansions, and I'm debating getting those expansions to see if that kind of improves that decision space for myself, because I really want to like the game, because I think it's a clever design. So 6 for SpaceShipped. Going to the next one. The next one is a flip and write game. This is a very popular game. It won some awards this last year. This is Next Station London. In this game, everybody has a colored pencil for that round, and we are going to flip over these cards, and those cards are going to have symbols on them. You have to use your colored pencil to draw basically a line from one of your stations to another station of that symbol that you're drawing. You can never draw through other lines that you've drawn, and in this game, you are trying to basically spread out but stay in the same spots almost, because at the end of each round, you're going to score for that specific colored pencil that you're drawing. And you're going to score for how many sections you've reached out to with that particular pencil, but you're also going to times that by how many of the most stations you have in one section. So if you've spread out to 5 different sections, but you have 3 stations in one of the sections, you're going to do 5 times 3 for 15 points. And there's going to be a couple other ways you're going to score points throughout the game, but that's one of the main wins. And after each round, you're going to rotate pencils, and then you're going to take another pencil, a colored pencil, and draw those ones now. And you're just going to add up all your points at the end of the game. Whoever's got the most points wins the game. This one was a very popular game. This is one that is very similar to another game, Metro X. I like this one a little bit more than Metro X because it seems a little bit less punishing. This is going to get a 7 rating. I think the game is very addictive, and it's very fast. You can play this game in a matter of 15 minutes. Some problems I do have with it that, like, I don't really like the color pencils in this one, especially the colors in it really don't pop in for some of them. It's like I'm drawing this color and I'm like, I can barely see this color on here. So I don't really like the colored pencils in it. And then I realized I also don't have a pencil sharpener in my house. So if you have this game, I recommend, and you're going to play it a lot, go get yourself a pencil sharpener, or else maybe laminate some of the sheets on here and go get some colored markers. So yeah, it's an addictive game, but not one that like I'm gonna want to play a lot of, but still fun enough for me to break out every once in a while. Going to the next one. The next one, we go from a small flip and write game to a big giant box with miniatures. This is Project Elite. This is a real-time 2-minute game. Well, there's rounds that are 2 minutes long, and each of these rounds there are these alien forces that are invading Earth. And you are going to have to roll dice as fast as you can to try and accomplish different goals. And there's several different missions, and that you can play, and those are going to change up the game a little bit for what you're trying to accomplish for your goals. And you're rolling these dice, and these dice have different symbols on them. And there's moves for yourself, but there's also symbols that move the aliens. So if you roll a move alien thing dice, you have to move those aliens towards their objective, and they might be coming through you and hitting you and making you lose health throughout the game. And it's just very chaotic. You're also going to get weapons. You're going to search for different weapons throughout the game, and you're going to then roll dice that are going to load that weapon, and then you're going to use those dice and roll some hit dice, which you're going to roll those, and depending on what you roll, you might be killing some aliens here and there. You're also going to try to be completing objectives by putting dice on those different objectives. It's very chaotic for those 2 minutes. After those 2 minutes are done, then you're going to kind of gather up and redo all the round steps. You're going to put out more aliens. There's events that are happening. There are these boss aliens that are going to come out that have even more special abilities. It's just a lot of chaos and so much hectic, just stuff going on all at one time. And this one is going to get a 7 rating, but it's kind of in between like a 7 and 7.5 for myself. I don't really like real-time games too much, but this is one of the better ones to me. To me, I would say this is almost like Speed Zombicide. It feels like Zombicide, but in a much shorter time, which I appreciate that, because Zombicide has fallen down over the years for myself because I just think a lot of times it just takes too long. This relieves that. And I enjoyed it, but I'm not like much of a real-time player. But this is going to be, I know this is going to be some people's favorite games ever. I know a lot of people are going to really like it, and a lot of people might just bounce off of it. So depending on what your mood is, what your type of games are, I feel like you're going to know if you are going to like this game or not just going into it. So a 7 rating for Project Elite. Going to the next game. The next game is a solo-only game that I got sent. This is Halls of Hegra. I had not heard about this game at all. This is a recent release, and this is a solo-only game with a war theme attached to it. It's kind of a tower defense game. You're trying to resist these sieges, these attacks that are going on, trying to survive throughout so many rounds of this. And to start the rounds, you are going to pull these little chits out of this bag, and these chits are actually your defenders that you're going to be using. And you can pull up to 4, but if ever you pull one of these doubt tokens, you have to stop pulling immediately, and you only get one of those defenders for that round that are going to be added into your collection. You lose all the other ones if you happen to pull any more. And then you're going to use these defenders, which are basically workers, to go and put on different action spots to use those actions. And there are different types of defenders. There are soldiers, which are good at fighting, and then there are hunters, which are good at removing snow, but also going and gathering supplies. There are medics, which are good at healing some of your people. There are volunteers that are basically just okay at everything. And then you have the elites, which are going to do more special actions for this game. And throughout the game, after you place all these people, then you're going to take the actions of each of those spots, like grid by grid. We're going to do this, then we're going to do this, and then this and this. And the different actions, you might be repairing guns. You might be going out on and searching for more supplies, bringing those supplies back, because those are going to be important. You're trying to improve your morale for your troops, because if your morale gets down, you're going to get some negatives every round. And there's a lot of things you can do, and you can only do a few of them. And this is a very, very punishing game. This is going to get a 7.5 rating for myself, but there are games of this days where I would rate this game a 9, maybe even higher, or a 6, depending on my mood. This is a very, very punishing game. This is one of those games you do 2 or 3 good things, and then the enemy does 4 or 5 bad things to you. It's just punishing you. You move 2 steps forward and then 3 steps backward each round, and you're just trying to survive until you reach so many rounds. And I'll say right now, I have not won this game. I have not even been close to winning this game yet. But if you like games like the Robinson Crusoe or This War of Mine, where they're just really punishing, or Spirit Island, you might really, really like this game. Like I said, it might be a 9 or higher for me on certain days, but I have to be in that mood. Right now, this is probably the front runner for me for my solo game of the year, the solo only game of the year. And I think a lot of people are really going to like this. But if you don't like hard solo games, I would stay clear of this one. So 7.5 rating for Halls of Hegra. Going to the next game. The next game, we go from a pretty heavy solo game to this very light cooperative, sort of silly game. This is Lord of the Rings adventure book game. In this game, it is a campaign style game. You have 8 different chapters you are trying to play through, and you're trying to win every different chapter before your corruption track reaches so high. And I think there's only 15. It can only go to 15 in this, I believe. So if you get 15 corruption in a matter of 8 games, you lose. This is a Lord of the Rings themed game. It's a very light game. The rules for this are, you can read the basic rules for this in about 2 to 3 minutes. But each of the chapters is going to also have their own set of rules and their own different goals that you're going to have to read. So the chapter rules are going to take you a couple minutes to go through for that. The basic rules are basically you can move any of your characters 0 to 2 spaces. And then you're going to have a hand of cards that you're going to be managing and spending to accomplish these goals. You have to get your characters in certain spots, certain situations, and then spend those cards. You can also spend your cards to move your characters extra throughout the game. And you are going to get these special cards as well throughout the game that are going to go into your deck. And at the end of the campaign, you're going to have like 10 or 11 of these special cards that are going to give you more special abilities. It is basically a big spatial puzzle that is pretty simple, but each chapter gives you quite a different puzzle each chapter, which is nice. And so for my thoughts on this game, this is going to get an 8 rating. I really enjoyed this game. There are some quips I have about it, but for the most part, this feels like a very thematic Lord of the Rings game. Maybe my most thematic Lord of the Rings game I have ever played. I felt like I was the characters going through this game. This is a very simple game. I ran through this with my girlfriend. We ran through it in a matter of a week. We played 1 to 2 chapters each day, basically. And I just had a really, really good time. Way better of a time than I was expecting. But, you know, when we're over here, when we're doing this chapter, I'm like, oh, this is the part where Legolas and Gimli are battling and counting how many kills they have for the Uruk-hai. And I just thought this was like such a fun thematic game. And it's very simple, very family weight style game. It's just a big spatial puzzle. Each of them have a very different spatial puzzle. And I think you basically have 8 little mini games in this. And I just had a really good time. So yeah, 8 rating for Lord of the Rings, the Adventure Book game. After we played this, I ended up buying the Princess Bride Adventure Book game, which is part of the series. We'll see if it's more the theme that brought it so high for me, or if it was the system. I would almost guarantee you it is the theme. So if you are a Lord of the Rings fan and you want to play a lighter game with like maybe your family, this one I highly recommend actually. And so let's just move on to the next game. The next game was the biggest surprise for this week. This is a roll and write game. This is Mind Space. In this game, you are going to be drawing polyomino shapes into your little map, which is your brain, basically. And you have 6 different polyomino shapes that are available for you each round. You're going to roll these dice, and you have 5 different colors, and you're going to put that colored dice above that number polyomino shape. And so if you roll a 1, you put it on the far left. If you roll a 3, you put it on the third card. 6, you put it on the last card. And then everybody is going to choose one of those dice colors and take that marker and draw that shape into their little map. Everybody can pick the same color if they would like to. There's no restrictions on that. There are restrictions on how you can place your shapes. So your shapes cannot be touching other shapes of that same color. So a pink can't touch a pink. Also, you're going to score different for each of these colors at the end of the game. Like every time you mark an orange shape on your map, you are going to mark off one of the orange sections. You're going to score for however many orange colors that you've put down. The blue, you want those blue in different sections, so you want them all spread out, covering all the different sections of that brain map. The purple want to be next to orange. The green are going to get you money, and you can spend this money to do different special abilities. You can mark in little black spaces that will cover up little sections that you've missed throughout the game, or you can take any colored dice, make this type of shape, and you can just spend your money in different ways. The pink, you're going to score those pink for having matching shapes of different colors. So if you have like an L shape with the pink and you make an L shape with the blue, you're going to score points for that. After each turn, after everybody's drawn a shape, you move those over. You line them over, and you flip over one and you flip over a new one to do. And then you're just going to roll, and you have like 12 rounds to do this. You're also going to score points for finishing off different sections of your brain map. And for me, this was so surprising how much I like this game. This is going to get an 8.5. This feels like a successor, a sequel to Silver and Gold, which is one of my favorite flip and write games. I show Silver and Gold to so many people. I've taught Silver and Gold a couple to probably 3 dozen people over the years. It's one of those games that I think is really easy to break out with people who haven't played a lot of games. This is one of those gateway style games. This game is very reminiscent of Silver and Gold, but it has a lot more going on, but still it's simple enough that you can teach new players, I think. I taught several new players this game, and they all caught on pretty fast. It's still only like a 2-minute teach, 2 to 3 minute teach, and I just had a really good time figuring out the puzzle of this game, and everybody else that I've played with had a really good time as well. So yeah, it's one of the most surprising games for me of the year, probably, that I enjoyed it that much, but it's replacing one of my favorite flip and write games in Silver and Gold. Most likely. I'll keep Silver and Gold, but I'm going to want to play Mindspace over in Silver and Gold way more. So yeah, 8.5 for Mindspace. And that will complete this reviews and ratings episode. Make sure to comment down below some of your thoughts on some of these games, if you've played them, if you haven't, if we disagree, or if you completely agree with me. Either way, make sure to like and subscribe to see more weekly content from me, Shane, at the board meeting in the future. Hope you'll have an amazing day. Take care.